This is the MyExcelOnline podcast, episode number 19, special course announcement.
There's something a little more complex going on in the background, but to the user, right, that's interacting with the dashboard, they hit a button and it's all automated for them.
Welcome to the MyExcelOnline podcast, the need-to-know Excel insights, knowledge, and tips brought to you by the experts that know them best. Are you ready to explore your full potential and get better at Excel? It's time to stand out from the crowd with your host, John Michaeludis.
In today's episode, we have a Microsoft certified trainer and a certified Microsoft Office Master instructor who has been teaching and consulting for the past 15 years on various computer applications. He is a graduate of the San Francisco Art Institute in the Media Arts and Animation program. He has worked as a game designer for Electronic Arts, designing on such popular games as Nerf and Strike and Sims 3 expansion pack for the PC. In his spare time, he enjoys spending time with his family. He has 6 children. When he's not busy entertaining his kids, you will find him cheering on his favorite hockey team, the San Jose Sharks. Let's welcome from Pleasant Grove, Salt Lake in Utah, Mr. Kyle Pew. Hello, Kyle. How are you going today, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
How is it over there in Salt Lake at this time of the year, which is March in 2018? It must be snowing heaps.
We've had a pretty mild winter this year. Got a little bit of snow. It's actually surprised us the past week or so. We've got a bit more snow than we've had all year. So been pretty mild, but cold outside.
Yeah, like here in Spain. I'm in the north of Spain, in Vitoria, and we had snow in March last week, so which is pretty strange. It's all doom and gloom, but we're heading to spring, which is going to be great. I love summer and spring. All right, buddy. Now, I've told our listeners a little bit about your background. Why don't you tell us more about yourself personally and your journey to becoming an Excel expert?
Well, grew up in California, actually. Only been in Utah for about 3 years. But I grew up just outside of San Francisco in a city called Walnut Creek. Just got a bit too pricey for me out there, so I decided to leave there and come out here to Utah. But while I was in California, like you mentioned, I went to the San Francisco Art Institute where I studied. But while I was there studying, I was doing training for kind of more corporate settings. So I've been doing training for a while, lots of different computer applications. Excel is a big one, seems to be one that comes up all the time. But I taught on various other applications as well. I've got a family of 6 kids. Been married for, let's see, my wife's going to kill me. I got to remember, 17 years now. And yeah. The oldest, she just started driving, so that's a new experience for us. But loads of fun to be able to spend time with them.
Any plan for more kids?
No, I think we're done for now. So.
I have 2 kids and that's enough.
Yeah.
6, that's a great feat. So well done. So yeah, I mentioned that you worked in Electronic Arts. I remember them. They were big a few years ago, probably bigger now as well. A lot of young people playing online games. How was that working for EA? Oh,
it was fun. It was fun to do. When I first got in there, I came in as a designer, so I did a lot of paperwork, coming up with paper designs for the projects that we were working on. When it got around holidays time, it was crunch time, so it was like I never saw my family, but it was fun. It was like I got to work on video games. So
so you're actually designing the games. What does that just quickly involve? Well,
yeah.
Is it coding? Is a lot of coding or?
Not so much on my part. We had the different expertise that would go around the studio. So we had programmers that would strictly do the programming. We had the artists inside there that would create the assets for the game. We had the audio artists as well. And then we had the design team and the producers. So my responsibility was more of coming up with designs for the game itself, paperwork. So drawing up the maps for the levels, writing the scripts for the game, the player's experience. Once that was done, we'd hand it off to the different disciplines, programming, the artists, and so on. And then they would come back to us with all the various assets that we then put into the game engine and kind of put it together and play test it and such.
Interesting. And why the shift from that to Microsoft, becoming a Microsoft certified trainer?
So before I got into the game design, I was doing training. That's what kind of put me and my family through school. I worked in the corporate setting doing training within the Microsoft Office suite. So built my foundation there, graduated from school, went and worked for a few years within the game industry. and then decided, you know what, I like classroom experience. I like the interaction that I have with the students in there. I'm going to go back and do training again.
Now, you're a Microsoft certified trainer, and I see that a lot. And a lot of people, of our listeners, will be asking, how do you become a Microsoft certified trainer? How do you get that certification?
So there's a few steps you got to go through. If you go out and just Google MCT or Microsoft Certified Trainer, you're going to get all the information out there, loads of information from Microsoft. But the process that you're going to go through, you got to become certified in some type of technology Microsoft related. So, for example, the path that I went down was through the MOS exams, or the Microsoft Office Specialist exams. So you go and you take these exams for Excel, Word, PowerPoint, the Office suite. So you nail those down. And then you go through another exam called the CompTIA or CCT Plus exams. It's a certified technical trainer exams. It's one exam that you go through just on the computer, just answer a bunch of questions. But then taking both of those, whatever Microsoft Tech you've passed, and then the CTT Plus exam, and you send them off to Microsoft, say, hey, I've been certified in these. I'd like to become MCT certified as well.
That's awesome. Now, I want to, down the track, complete that as well, because it'll be great to have on my resume.
Sure.
And does that open more opportunities for you, or does Microsoft help you get more live training?
It's definitely something that people will look at and say, oh, hey, you're a Microsoft certified trainer. And they'll take that credential, that kind of helps you stand out from the rest of the pack that just goes out and does training on their own. You get listed within the Microsoft directory, so people can look you up from there. You get all sorts of discounts through Microsoft as well.
Cool. Now let's talk about your business. You have a website called officenewbie.com, and you do a lot of training online and live as well. Just explain a bit about that.
As I was living in California, I worked for the training center in San Francisco, just having clients come into our training facility, or we go out and travel to them. And then when I decided to move, I was doing remote work for this same company. But I decided, you know what? I want to kind of branch out on my own. So I developed OfficeNoob.com. I started creating blog posts and posting videos and kind of making more of a personal presence for myself online rather than going through this company. So I built up OfficeNoob.com and started to get a following there. And just really trying to share the knowledge that I have through this website and give myself a little bit of social presence there online.
And, that's where I saw you. I saw your videos on VBA Macros, and your videos are high quality, and just love your teaching style. It's easy to understand. You explain it well. That's because you've had many hours of live training. So that's when I decided to say, hey, I want to get Kyle to create a course for MyExcelOnline.com. And for your listeners out there, that's how I found Kyle and asked him, do you want to do a course for MyExcel Online and all of our listeners and our followers? And he goes, yeah, let's do it. So that's why I got Kyle to create a course. It's called the Xtreme Macros and VBA course. We're going to talk about it in a little while. But before we do that, can you just tell us what macros and VBA are? Why do you like macros and VBA and not, say, formulas? Why are you an expert in that field?
Kind of a funny road for me to get down into Excel and more specifically in Excel VBA. When I first got into training, it was actually my sister-in-law that introduced me to a company and said, hey, I think you'd be a good fit. Let's go down and interview and such. And so I got my foot in the door and I started doing training. And Excel was the number one that we always got into. But at the time, when I first got in there and started doing training, VBA was something that I didn't know a whole lot about. Started doing training back inside the Windows 95, so years ago, right? So I'm just now starting to pick up VBA, but before that, I picked up other programming languages. I worked with Flash, and I did Action Scripts, which was their kind of scripting or programming language within that application. Then I picked up things like C# and so on. VBA came down later because the training need came up. So I picked that up. I picked up Excel VBA and decided, I'm going to start to learn this as well. And I found a lot of similarities between the Visual Basic for applications, which is what VBA is all about, and these other languages that I picked up as well. So I jumped into VBA, and I found that, hey, we can automate all of these tasks that I train on within these Excel classes. So we talk about things like creating charts, copying and pasting data, entering data, formatting data, you name it, right? We're going through beginner to advanced topics inside of Excel. And then I started realizing that we can automate all of that work. And as that started to dawn on me, I started sharing that with the class and said, wow, we're going to save so much time completing these redundant tasks, right? Something that might take you hours of your day or hours of your month. We can do it through Visual Basic or the programming language in Excel and automate that experience.
With VBA, you can do heaps of stuff. It's just, you can do pretty much everything. You can even email your boss to make your coffee via Outlook. That's crazy. Now, how long did it take you to learn VBA? Because a lot of people, even myself, I'm not a VBA expert. I've done the macro recorder and, know how to open the editor and maybe, do a couple of lines, but I'm not an expert. With your course now that I went through, I've learned a lot. But how long did it take you? Because a lot of people are scared, You ask them, what do you want to learn? And the first thing they say is macros and VBA because I don't know it. And that's what I said 10 years ago. So if someone asked me, I would have said macros and VBA because if you know that, then you know Excel. But how long did it actually take you to become confident in using macros and VBA?
And that's a question I get asked a lot. I mean, people come into an Excel VBA class with me and like, how long is this going to take me? Am I going to be a genius at the end of this class? Am I going to be a genius at the end of the week? What is it? That's kind of really an open-ended question. A lot of different ways that we can take it. For me personally, I had a little bit of background knowledge in other programming languages as well. So jumping into VBA came a little more natural to me because I had something that was similar within my background. So perhaps not as long as somebody that might be taking, their first step into any programming language.
Say a new person doesn't know anything about VBA and they're taking the course that we're offering. Will they learn it in hours or will it take a few weeks just to grasp the extent of VBA and the different programming language?
So learning a programming language, like you said, it can be daunting. People get scared of it. The way that we've laid this course out is we've built a solid foundation on the key topics that you're going to want to know and learn and things that you're going to master throughout your career within Excel VBA. So you build that solid foundation, which is going to help you develop the further skills necessary as you continue working within there. So I'd say you jump into this course here, you build that solid foundation, and then from that foundation, it may be a week that you're going to get into the more advanced topics, and maybe within the month that you're going to get into more advanced topics that you'll start to master as well.
Yeah, it's like anything, even formulas. The first time you're using Excel formulas, like, what is this? It takes time, but you just got to apply it, make mistakes, and reapply it, and then you'll get it. And going through the course that you created for us, man, I learned so much. So I thought, wow, I thought macros and VBA would have been much harder, but the way that you explain that is it's easy. And I learned a lot of stuff pretty quickly. And I'm sure our listeners as well will learn that. Now, before we talk about the course in depth, let's go ask you a couple of other questions about VBA. Now, in what situations would you use VBA?
Yeah, good question. So anytime you want to automate an experience, it could be just something simple. Like for example, I was doing an Excel VBA class the other week where I asked that exact same question to the class. I said, hey, now that we know a little bit about VBA, where would you use this at? And I had one guy raise his hand and he said, clearing a worksheet, just wiping out all the data on the worksheet. And at first I thought, well, that's, how many steps you have to do in order to do that? Maybe 2-3 steps. You got to select all the data. You got to hit the delete key. You wiped out all the data. So I asked him, I said, okay, well, why would you want to automate something simple like that? And he says, well, it's because it's something I do all the time. They import data into their system, they clean it up, they copy it, paste it into a report, and then they wipe out the old data. So rather than going through those 2-3 steps multiple times, now you automate that experience through VBA. So it could be something small like that, just to save yourself a little bit of time, or it could be something large, like I've got to be able to create this weekly report. But in order for me to get to that weekly report, I've got to go get the data, I've got to clean it up, format it, get the dates right, calculate the data, whatever you need to do, several steps, but all through VBA, you automate it through a single button press.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff. You can do pretty much anything within VBA. Now, what's one question, a common question you get in your live trainings in terms of VBA and what it can do?
So I get loads of questions about what it can do inside there. Some of them just kind of small. This is something that I do, such as I want to be able to grab data from another workbook. Okay, great. Yeah, you can do that with VBA. Again, perhaps you've got that data dump that comes down from some other system, a database or a CRM system or whatever. And now I want to be able to grab that data from that system or from that other workbook and dump it into Excel. Can I do that? Yeah, you can do that. That's something I get asked all the time. Another question I get asked all the time is, well, how can I learn all the various bits of code within VBA? And my kind of response to that is, well, you're in the classroom, you're taking a course, you're going to start learning it here. But that's something that you'll master over time.
And what's one thing that you show your students and they're like, go, wow, I didn't know you could do this with VBA?
Well, one of the first projects that I have students do within a class is we work with the macro recorder. We go in there and we start recording steps, just get Excel to essentially write down tasks that we do, and it just records us. People seem to like that. They're like, oh, that's pretty neat. But once we get into the code and we modify it just through a couple of little lines of code, we can make it that much more dynamic. And that just kind of blows people's minds that they can do something really simple, like put text into a workbook and have Excel record you doing that. The next time you want to do it, you just run the recorder. But once we get into the code, we can then say, Excel, perform those same tasks, but ask the user for some input, prompt them for some information. And that's where people start to really go, wow, this is really powerful. Not only can you get it to repeat what you did before, but you can add in little dynamic pieces to make it more reusable.
Yeah, once they see the possibilities, it just opens up another world for them. They're like, okay, I did not going to do that. But you can, as I said before, you can do pretty much anything. You just got to know how far you can push it, and you can push it pretty far. Now, what is the weirdest thing that you've seen done with Excel or VBA in your time of teaching online classes?
Maybe the weirdest thing. So dealing with Excel VBA, and there's people out there with loads of time on their hands, right? And perhaps too much time. So I was out searching online, and I was just searching for Excel VBA examples, and I came across this one website where somebody recreated Pac-Man inside of Excel.
Wow.
Yeah. You can literally play Pac-Man at the same levels. Got the ghosts flying around, you pick up the pills, you get the power-ups, and so on. Crazy, but it was all written inside of Excel VBA.
And the code, was it huge code?
It was massive. Yeah, like I said, this person had loads of time on their hand to recreate that. So, yeah.
Good stuff. All right, Kyle, mate, let's talk about our course, the course you created for MyExcel Online. It is called the Xtreme Macros and VBA Online Course. It is an awesome course. I've went through every tutorial, and man, your teaching style, it's like you don't do any editing. You record, you talk for 3 minutes or 5 minutes without any editing. It just shows that you know your stuff. And how can you do that? How do you do that? Because when I record something, it takes me a few tries.
I think I rely on a lot of my classroom experience. I couldn't say, okay, let's scratch that, wipe that from memory, let's start over again in front of the live class. So I rely on that, and I teach the same way online that I do within a classroom experience. I try to make it interactive and presentable for those that are coming in to enjoy the videos.
Yeah, no, they're great. Now let's talk about the different modules that you get within this course. Let me just go through them just quickly. The first module is an introduction to VBA. The second one is mastering the key macro and VBA concepts with 7 projects. The third module is mastering VBA user forms. I love user forms, they're great. And the fourth module is creating a VBA dashboard. Now let's talk about the first module, the introduction to VBA. What can our listeners expect in this module?
Now, this is really an introduction. I mean, that's our key word there, right? Introduction to Excel VBA. So you're going to build the solid foundation that you're going to use not just through the rest of the course, like you mentioned, getting into the projects and the user forums, but you're going to build a solid foundation on the introductory concepts of Excel VBA that are going to take you throughout your career. So you're going to learn things like, what's an object? Well, if I even step back from that, well, what is VBA? What's the purpose? Kind of like what we've been talking about here. Automation, right? That's the key word of Excel VBA. But then we'll take it into what's an object? How do you reference a range or a cell within a worksheet? How do you reference a worksheet within your code? How do you do things like entering data, changing values of cells, introductory type topics that you're going to use throughout your career of Excel VBA?
Yeah, and I've got here a list of them. You go through worksheet object, range object, the relative references, modules and procedures, variables and data types, conditional statements and loops. Loops are great. Message and input box. Now, just talk about loops. Why are they so powerful?
Yeah, I think loops is perhaps one of my favorite parts of Excel VBA, that and perhaps variables. But really, the purpose of a loop is to be able to repeat a single task or multiple tasks. I need to be able to accomplish something multiple times, then you wrap it inside of a loop. Say, for example, I want to be able to go through each worksheet inside of a workbook and do something with the data on each of those worksheets. Well, rather than going in and doing it individually, okay, now go to this worksheet, now I need to go to the next worksheet, now I need to go to the next one. You write the code once, and then you just loop it, and it performs the task X amount of times.
Yeah, it's powerful. So that's true meaning of automation, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Get it. Write the code once. Don't reinvent the wheel every time you need to do something, and then just loop it.
Now, let's go on to module 2. Now, yeah, as you said, the first one, introduction to VBA, you need that. You need that just so you can understand the different concepts and just to get the feel around the VBA editor. So that's a great module there. Now, module 2 is mastering macros and VBA concepts with 7 projects. Let's talk about the 7 projects that you show in this module. Something
that I feel like is missing from a lot of classes that I've gone through and such is projects. A lot of it you go through and just kind of conceptualize and kind of abstract individual concepts that you'll get into. But this module here, you're going to go through 7 projects, real world projects, to help you use all of those skills that you've built up to this point, plus take them a step further. So you're going to do things like implement the macro recorder to help you automate cleaning up data. So you've dumped down some data from some other source. Now you need to add headers. You need to format it. You need to format the data and so on. We'll understand how to work with that real world scenario within the macro recorder. That's really the first project in there. The next project, we'll take that a step further. And we'll start to not only clean up the data within Excel VBA, but we'll start to automate calculations within Excel across multiple worksheets. Getting back into that loop scenario that we were talking about. So I want to be able to calculate some data, and I need to do this across 4, 10, 20, 100 worksheets. I need to sum up some data. We're going to see how to do that through the next project. And then we'll continue building upon that. We're using the same files. We're using the same data, just slowly building each of our skills through these projects. Ultimately coming out at the end with a final project. We're going to wrap up all the concepts through the previous six projects into the final 7th project and wrap it all up into a final report.
Yeah, as you said, you need a project because you start off with that project and then slowly you add more features and functionality to it. And then at the end of it, you're like, all right, you've covered a lot of stuff. Using the different features that are available within VBA. So yeah, I love module number 2, but module number 3 is my favorite. VBA user form. What is a user form for those people out there that don't know what it is?
Sure. We've all used them in some way, maybe inside of Excel, maybe inside of other locations, but it's an interface. It's something more user-friendly for the users to be able to work with your data within Excel or to run commands within Excel, but you're presenting them with a window, essentially a little interface with buttons and drop-down menus and checkboxes and radio buttons, text boxes, or maybe it's just text that the users get to see to prompt them. But it's a nice little user interface for them to be able to interact with your Excel.
For example, it could be entering employee data. For example, you can have a drop down with the employee name and then what time they started, when they finished, any comments. Press OK, and then that puts it into an Excel table.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, whether it's employee data or some other form of data, but you've given them an interface to do their data entry or just to be able to work with the data. And ultimately, once they do hit that OK button, inputs the data back into Excel, nice and clean form. Maybe you even validated the data. I mean, if you think about going through an Excel worksheet and just filling out a list, a lot of times there's no validation on it. So people can just type whatever they want in there, their life story, whatever, unnecessarily. But through a user form, we can start validating that data, controlling it behind the scenes, all through VBA, and then cleanly putting that data into the Excel document for the users.
And you can also put in some statistical information on that user form. For example, your highest sales or your average sales, stuff like that.
Yep, and automate it all for the users. They don't have to touch the calculations. We're doing it all for them, all through the interface, all through the user form.
And you show that within this module. I love user forms. They're great. It's a popular topic as well. I have a blog post about creating a data entry form without VBA. And that's probably my highest viewed post there.
Nice.
Because people are searching for that, are looking, how do I enter data or data entry with user forms? And you can create it. And once you do it, man, it's there. I'm sure that your boss will be happy with your skills. And it's not that hard to create, You show it how it's done. It's pretty easy to do that. So now, finally, it's creating a VBA dashboard. Module 4, I love Excel dashboards. They show you key metrics into one place. And in this module, you talk about, the different areas of creating a dashboard and also a VBA dashboard, using lookup data like VLOOKUP, filtering data, subtotals, and also automating it using VBA. Just talk about this module in terms of automating VBA dashboards.
So there's lots of different approaches that we can take to creating dashboards. I mean, lots of calculations, like you mentioned, VLOOKUP or index and match, which is also something we get into within this module. But pulling data from some source to be able to present it in a nice, clean, user-friendly format. And that's great. Calculations, pulling data from other sources and presenting it. You would create charts within there as well. But we want to take it a step further and make it a little more interactive. And that's where VBA comes into play. So, for example, a filter, it's something that a lot of our listeners have probably done inside of Excel, filtering data, but it's kind of a one-off. You filter the data, you see your results, and next time you want to filter that same data, perhaps for another value, you got to go back through the steps of performing the filter. Well, with a little bit of VBA sprinkled into your dashboard, you can automate that experience. So now you just got a drop-down menu where you just pick your different values, like a customer. Say, I want to see customer A. Pick it from the drop-down, and VBA takes over, and it filters the data for you. You don't have to go back through and run the various commands through the Excel interface. And then that data is connected to a pivot table in the background that your VBA goes in and refreshes, so it updates the data, it updates a chart, all through one little drop-down with some lookup calculations and some VBA to automate the experience.
So the user just has to press, at the end of creating all this, the user just has to press a button and they get the information that they want.
Yep. There's something a little more complex going on in the background, but to the user, right, that's interacting with the dashboard, they hit a button and it's all automated for them.
This is another level. So, mate, this is an awesome module. It's an awesome course. Thank you for creating it for our listeners, because I would never have done it because, I have no clue about, well, a little bit more now that I've seen your course,
sure,
about macros and VBA. So, thank you for creating this course. Now, who should take this course? What kind of people? Do they have to be, beginners, intermediates, advanced, office users? Who's this course for?
I think there's something in there for everyone. We definitely do start out with the introductory topics. So if you're looking really to take your Excel skills, all the knowledge that you have of Excel so far, and to start to automate that experience, save yourself time and money, this course is for you. If you've been working inside of VBA, there's always something to pick up, right? I'm still learning new things within VBA. New versions of Excel will come out and they'll introduce some new little topics for new features. So there's always something to pick up inside there. So definitely start out at the introductory level, but as the course progresses, we get into more advanced topics as well.
A bit for everyone there. Even if you're an advanced Excel user, like myself, well, I'm taking this course because I don't know macros and VBA. There's a lot of experts out there in Excel that don't know macros and VBA. I think once you master VBA, you'll be an Excel guru and you could pretty much do anything within Excel. So another question that we get from a lot of people is what Excel versions do people need to view this course?
Excel VBA has been Excel VBA for years. Each new version of Excel that comes out, they introduce new features inside of Excel. That's a given. I mean, that's how Microsoft makes money, right? They release a new version with some new features. The VBA side of things evolves a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same stuff. Everything that I teach in the introductory level is going to work across all versions. Everything that we get into the projects, the second module within there, is going to work across all levels. Made the code generic enough to be able to work inside of Excel 2003 all the way up to the newest release 2016 at this point. So any of those versions are going to be just fine within this course.
And Excel for Mac?
Excel for Mac, they've made some changes. I think Apple and Microsoft need to get together a little bit more because they changed the interface a bit inside the VBA window. But the code within there will still run on the Mac as well.
Now, for all you guys listening out there, you can go to MyExcelOnline.com/courses and you can have a look at this course. It's open now. We are launching the course and we're going to close it this Friday, the 9th of March, 2018 at midnight US Pacific time. We want to close it because we want to spend time with our students and help them. Go on MyExcelOnline.com/courses and have a look at this course. Now, before we go, I just talk about what people can get when they sign up to this course. Okay, so they get over 150 tutorials. I think there's about 160 short tutorials. There's a lot of information there. And also, you can download that. So, you can download those videos. The other thing is that you get lifetime online access. So once you purchase it, you have lifetime online access. So you can start the course now, or you can, in a couple of years down the track or whenever you have spare time. You also get the workbooks in a start format and a finish format. So you can follow Kyle along and follow his steps. And if you don't understand anything, you can just open the finished workbook and have a look at the code that he's done there. And that's a great way of learning VBA, is having a look at the code and then copying and pasting that into your workbooks at work. You also get a certificate of completion. So once you complete the course, you get a certificate of completion that you can also put on your LinkedIn page. And we also give a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. Now, we've also included 5 bonuses. They're worth $1,000 here. Course bonus number 1 is 12 months of dedicated pro-level email support. So within the first 12 months, we're going to give you our undivided attention and support. After 12 months, you're still going to continue to get support from us if you ever get stuck. With the first 12 months, we want to get you up and running and using this course. Now, course bonus number 2 is a 33% discount on any other MyExcel Online courses. At the time we're speaking, we have a pivot table online course and a Power Query and data cleansing online course. Now, course bonus number 3, this is it's an ebook. It's called Office VBA Macros you can use today. It's worth $20. You get it for free for signing up. And it has over 100 VBA coding examples for Excel, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, and Access. It's a great ebook. Course bonus number 4 are 2 Excel add-ins by my friend and Excel VBA expert, Ryan Wells, from wellsr.com. These are 2 Excel add-ins that you get for signing up. The first one is called Wells R Pro. Now, this allows you to import macros from Ryan Wells' website directly into your spreadsheet. And also, you can also organize your existing macros and even share them within the Wells Pro community right inside your Excel ribbons. That's a pretty cool add-in. And the second add-in that you get is mouse to macro. Now, this is an add-in that records your mouse clicks and cursor movements and converts the actions to a VBA macro for instant playback. Great add-ins. They're worth $65 on Ryan's website, but you get it for free for signing up to this course. And course bonus number 5 is the Macros and VBA webinar replay that Kyle and I have been running the last couple of weeks. You get that inside the course. You can download it and you have lifetime access. Now, the course costs $297. It's USD. You can pay a one-time fee or you can pay 3 installments of $99. Now, if you go for the installment plan, once you pay the first installment, you get access to the full course and you get access to all the bonuses. So there you have it there. And as I said before, it's open until now, up until this Friday, the 9th of March at midnight US Pacific time. So click on MyExcelOnline.com/courses and have a look at this course. It's an awesome course. Everyone needs to know VBA macros, and so just so you can, expand your Excel skills, and it's going to save you a lot of time, because imagine all the mundane tasks that you're doing each day, each week, or each month. Then they add up. They add up to a lot of minutes, and if you multiply that throughout the year, it goes hours, and you can actually automate that. And then once you press a button, you're saving those hours. You can do that within seconds. So it's about saving you time and using your spare time to what you get paid for, and that is to give your professional advice, not to copy and paste data or to move things around. It is to give your professional advice. That's why you're working in the corporate environment, is to do that. So we're here to help you automate all those Excel tasks. And yeah, this course is just an amazing course, and I've got to thank Kyle. Any final thoughts from you, Kyle?
No, I totally agree with you. It's all about automating it. Jump in there. Don't be afraid of it. But how you're really going to learn it is getting your hands dirty and start to practice with it. The sooner that you can start getting the real world projects, the quicker it's going to click for you, and ultimately save you time and money as you progress within Excel.
All right, cheers for that. Now, if you're listening to this in the future, or you're time traveled, just go back to MyExcelOnline.com and have a look at the course there. It's probably open during certain times of the year. So just go on the website and have a look at it. All right, Kyle, thank you once again for creating this course and your, passing on your wisdom and skills to the rest of the world, mate. I appreciate it. And I know a lot of our listeners appreciate that as well, because they're just going to learn an invaluable tool that's going to stay with them forever. And, and you're the reason for it. So thank you for creating the course.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me.
All right, buddy. Cheers. And I'll speak to you soon.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the MyExcel Online podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share this with your colleagues so they can reach their full Excel potential. You can also visit MyExcelOnline.com/podcast for show notes, as well as John's online Excel courses and free tutorials to help you stand out from the crowd. Until next time, keep excelling.